I just went flying by.
Nice.
Thank you so much. Okay, where? Yes. I'm trying. Yes. Okay. This is where I'm going to stop it. All right? Okay. Thank you, Ellen. Please take your seats. Or actually, please find a seat, but you don't have to sit yet. Okay. Welcome to Temple Sinai's 4th annual Great Latke-Hamantash debate. We are in the presence of talented minds and hearts full of whatever latkes add to our hearts and Hamantashen add to our hearts. We can turn towards the front or turn towards the entrance and welcome in our panel.
Hello and welcome to the Temple Sinai 4th annual great, really awesome Latke-Hamantash debate. We welcome you to this august affair in December, where we know the great debate is really about sour cream or applesauce. But I don't think you want sour cream with your Hamantashen. We have 5 fabulous debaters here this evening. We're going to be, I'll be introducing them in turn. That's me. So we'll begin with our first debater, Barbara Burson. Barbara is a respected Holocaust and Jewish studies scholar whose work includes After the Holocaust, the Migration of Polish Jews and Christians to Pittsburgh, published in 1989. She has written 3 books on the history of Pittsburgh's Jewish community. They are Steel City Jews, 1840 to 1915, Steel City Jews in Prosperity, Depression, and War, 1915 to 1950, and Jewish Pittsburgh, part of the Images of America series. She produced a documentary film, A Jewish Legacy, Pittsburgh, that she wrote and produced in 2001. At the current time, she has produced a film by Ken Love, Jewish Memories of the Hill. She just published Sophie, The Incomparable Mayor Maslow, and she has been chairing Pittsburgh Jewish Federation. She's been the chair of Pittsburgh's Jewish Federation, Hillel JUC, and the Holocaust Commission, and really trying to get me off the stage.
Thank you. So, when Rabbi Gibson called me
I really hesitated. I wasn't sure I wanted to put myself through this great stressful occasion. But when the rabbi speaks, I have to listen, and so I stepped up. But when he asked me which side I wanted to be on, my answer was immediate. Why, on the Latke side, of course. Why? Because I suddenly thought of my elderly aunt and uncle who live in Boise, Idaho. You see, my uncle was in the potato bag business his whole life, earning his living and supporting my aunt and 3 cousins selling potato bags. Now, I loved my now deceased uncle very much, but I must admit that at one point in my lifetime, he was a disgrace to the family, a black sheep. It all started when, as Hanukkah was approaching, a reporter from the Wall Street Journal called the synagogue out in Boise, not a whole lot of them there, and he answered, and they asked him for his recipe for potato latkes, which was a very legitimate question. The reporter meant well, and my uncle happily responded. But when his recipe was printed on the front page of the Wall Street Journal, all hell broke loose. You see, instead of making potato latkes with flour, as any respectable Jew would do, this misguided Idaho Jew insisted that they should be made with Bisquick. To many, myself included, this was a shanda. It was embarrassing, and I was not alone in my dismay. The letters to the editor were fast and furious. What authentic Jew uses Bisquick to make potato latkes? No apology was ever issued, but my uncle didn't care. He made it to the first page of the Wall Street Journal. So now, in an act of forgiveness and in a demonstration of family loyalty, I have chosen potato latkes in an effort in part to redeem my uncle's shattered reputation. So here I am tonight. At first I thought this whole thing was a spoof, a lighthearted evening of entertainment, but I have quickly come to realize that a lot is at stake here tonight. By the way, steak and potatoes really go well together. You see, I have come to understand that the question being debated tonight is critical, one that cuts to the very heart of who we are as Jews and as Americans. Just think about it. To support the opposition, the Hamantash, named after Haman, is to lend validity and respectability to a man who is out to destroy us. Haman, after all, was the ultimate anti-Semite of his age, determined to wipe us out. Are we just going to forgive and forget? I say no. Fortunately, Esther came to the rescue and Haman was hanged. But if he hadn't been, the people would have insisted that he be impeached on the grounds that he sought to abuse his power in a most egregious way. There is no way I'm going to support the product that is named after him. But there is so much more than that in arguing for the potato latke. Now, everyone knows how much potatoes have meant to America. Ever since the English came to this country on the Mayflower with bags of potatoes that they stole from the Irish, potatoes have been our natural food. It is our natural symbol along with the eagle. In fact, if you look carefully, you will see that the American eagle is actually pictured biting into the potato. Think of all the ways Americans celebrate the potato. Where would we be without French fries? Where would the O in Oakland be without them? The baked potato is standard fare. It's a meal in itself with cheese, sour cream, even broccoli on top. They come roasted, fried, grilled, baked, steamed, whipped, in soups, main meals, hot in salads, cold in salads. They are versatile and universal. The potato is truly God's gift to America. And yet to all this richness, the Jews who have come to America brought yet another culinary variation on the potato, and I would argue the most sublime variation, the latke. Latkes can be a side dish, an appetizer, or even a main meal. It's a comfort food, and in these traumatic and very stressful times, we need all the comfort we can get. Plus that, everyone loves potatoes, so they bring us all together, no matter what our politics are. If more people ate potatoes, this country wouldn't be so divided. And while I am talking about the importance to America of certain foods, let me not ignore the mighty apple. The apple is as American as apple pie. It is the apple of our eye, and it is the applesauce that always accompanies the potato Latkes. I know there are former New Yorkers here tonight, myself included. New York is the Big Apple, and think how important New York has been to America and to Jews. Where would all the Jews have settled when they came to America in the early 19th century, if not for New York City? After all, Miami was not open to them yet. The connection between apples and potatoes cannot be overstated, and their symbolic and real importance to America is vital, and the Jews did it. The Jews brought them all together when we invented potato Latkes with applesauce. What a wonderful contribution we have made to American life. Surely we must recognize and applaud that. Now let me make another point about the Latkes. By supporting the potato Latkes, you are voting for a strong American economy. The potato business is big business in America. Think of all those restaurants that rely on the potato for their customers. I think McDonald's would go out of business without them. And think of all the potato sacks that are manufactured and distributed for all the potatoes that are sold. The bag business is a major business in America, and we need all the manufacturing jobs we can get in America today. And we can't forget the farmers who grow the potatoes. The potato farmers need to be able to sustain themselves. They need our help. And if they went under, like the potatoes they grow, what would happen? I don't know if you got that one. What would happen to the state of Idaho, where my aunt still lives? How could I do that to her? And what about the state of Maine, which is also famous for its potatoes? What would happen to it without potatoes? Its economy would collapse, and as we all know, as Maine goes, so goes the nation. We can't risk that. Yes, the potato in our Latkes undergirds the American economy. Can you say that for the poppy seeds in the Hamantashen? We all know that poppy seeds are grown by the poppy seed farmers of Afghanistan, who have been supporting the Taliban. Is that who you want to give your money to? Heaven forbid. Plus that, the seeds get stuck in our teeth and cause big dental bills, and too many insurance plans do not cover dental expenses. Eating too many Hamantashen puts a real strain on our already strained healthcare system. Now, I haven't even mentioned the holiday that the potato Latkes represents versus the holiday that Hamantashen represents. What a heroic struggle the Maccabees put up against the Greeks. Shouldn't we honor that effort, that bravery and valor? They were tough. They refused to be cowed into giving up their Judaism, into assimilating away into Greek culture. We need to applaud that, especially in these times. We need to stand strong. And beyond that, let's face it, Hanukkah is a lot more fun than Purim. For Purim, you get to parade around for a few hours. Big deal. With Hanukkah, you get to celebrate for 8 days. And if you're lucky, you get presents too. What's bad about that? Besides, a lot of times you get a vacation around Hanukkah. Nobody gets off on Purim. And look how you celebrate Purim. Instead of being treated to a nourishing food like the potato, you eat some flour, sugar, and poppy seeds or jelly. How can we vote for a food that is only going to contribute to tooth decay and excess fat? And to make matters worse, they serve it to you in the shape of a three-cornered hat. Who wants to eat a hat? There might even be a cat in the hat. Dr. Seuss thought so. He was no fan of Purim. So in conclusion, the Latkes serves to underscore the contribution that Jews have made and continue to make to this great nation. They are the symbol of our refusal to assimilate, to melt into the American melting pot. They truly celebrate America and our Jewishness. We have given of ourselves to this great country because we so honor it. To deny the Latkes is to deny America. It is to deny the place of Jews in American life. We have lived in America for 350 years. We cannot afford to put that all at risk by abandoning our support for the Latkes. I urge you not to break the chain of generations, l'adore, l'adore. So So I stand here tonight to urge you all to vote for the potato latke, and for that honorable cause and the words of some famous Americans who came before us, we should mutually pledge our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. Besides, as an addendum to this argument, if the first female and the first Jewish mayor, Sophie Maslow, preferred latkes and has a recipe of it in her personal papers that I looked at, that's good enough for me, and it should be good enough for you. Thank you very much.
One more time for Dr. Barbara Burson. It's always dangerous to give a historian a platform to stand upon. Our next debater is Dr. Adam Rothschild. He is the founding physician of Pittsburgh MMJ, a medical cannabis practice licensed in Pittsburgh's East Liberty neighborhood. He is also a family physician at Handelsman Family Practice in Munhall and medical informaticist at M. Modile in Squirrel Hill. Dr. Adam Rothschild.
So I wear 3 hats professionally, 4 if you include this silly thing. I am a family physician and a medical informatician, or informaticist if you prefer. But these days, people mostly want to talk to me about my work as the owner of a medical cannabis practice. When I was asked to participate in this debate, I considered which area of expertise upon which I should draw to make my argument. Perhaps I pondered I should take the family physician perspective, weighing the glycemic index and nutrient content of latkes and Hamantash and then their effects on body mass index and the development of type 2 diabetes. Or maybe I would channel my inner geek informatician, but I suspect that nobody here even knows what a medical informatician does, let alone being able to pronounce it. Instead, I decided to approach this debate from the perspective of cannabis. Now, I chose the cannabis perspective not because it's what all of you want to hear, which I suspect that it is. Rather, it is because as a Schedule I controlled substance, it is nearly impossible to do clinical research on the medical benefits of cannabis. Never mind the methodological challenge that when doing clinical trials with cannabis, it is incredibly easy for study subjects and researchers to know who was randomized to the intervention group and who was randomized to the control group. As such, the scientific establishment has little high-quality evidence to support much of what medical cannabis is used to treat. Instead, when making decisions about treatment regimens with medical cannabis, the best source of evidence that we often have is what I like to call collective stoner wisdom. I figure that the argument that I advance here this evening about the latke versus the Hamantash to be on par with the current rigor of medical cannabis research merely needs to stand up to the scrutiny of a bunch of stoners. For those of you in this audience who fit this description, this one's for you. I would like to begin my argument with a cultural reference. At the end of Adam Sandler's Hanukkah song, he enjoins the listener to, and feel free to join in here, drink your gin and tonica and smoke your marijuana. Very good. This verse finishes with the injunction that the listener have a happy, 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 happy Hanukkah. Now, the ordered juxtaposition of these two injunctions implies that the inhalation of combusted cannabis sativa, colloquially known as marijuana, will aid the dutiful listener in enjoying his Hanukkah holiday. Given that the average delta-9 THC content of cannabis was approximately 4% in 1994 when the song was first released, we can assume that it is not the smoking of the marijuana per se, for which Mr. Sandler was advocating. Rather, he was invoking the euphoria, aka getting high, that often accompanies the consumption of cannabis that contains an appreciable amount of THC. In other words, Mr. Sandler's message was, you should get high because this will help you to enjoy Hanukkah. To follow this through to its logical conclusion, we need to acknowledge that a frequent side effect of cannabis consumption is an increase in appetite known as the munchies. It is common knowledge that nobody has Hamantash lying around during Hanukkah. Thus, when the munchies strike during Hanukkah, those leftover latkes in the fridge are not going to miraculously last for 8 days. Although there have been 3 updates to the Hanukkah song, Mr. Sandler has not yet released the Purim song. Point Latka. Next, I would like to address an issue that often concerns medical cannabis patients. Even though the Pennsylvania Medical Marijuana Act prevents employment discrimination resulting from a person's status as a certified medical marijuana patient, it does not protect the patient from the employment consequences of using medical marijuana. If an employer does not permit cannabis use, regardless of whether that cannabis was obtained and consumed legally according to Pennsylvania law, then that employee can be legally terminated if he tests positive for THC on a urine drug screen. Now, fortunately, many forward-thinking employers in the Pittsburgh area permit medical cannabis use during non-work hours. As long as there is no reason to believe that an employee is under the influence of cannabis at work, these employers disregard a positive test for THC in certified medical cannabis patients. So what does this have to do with Latke versus Hamantash? Well, discerning, this thing is driving me crazy. Discerning consumers widely agree that the only Hamantash flavor worth eating is poppy seed. And oral consumption of poppy seeds has been shown to be a cause of false positives for opioids in urine drug screens. Given that a single high-quality poppy seed Hamantash contains enough poppy seeds to yield a false positive in a urine drug screen, the medical cannabis patient who consumes just a single poppy seed Hamantash is likely to test positive for both THC and opioids. How are you going to believably explain that one to your employer? Point Latka. Given my cannabis-oriented approach, the final line of inquiry that I will use to examine the relative superiority of the Latka versus the Hamantash is perhaps obvious. Which provides a better drug delivery mechanism? I know you guys are all waiting for this one. To answer this question, we need a bit of background about the chemical properties of the active ingredients in cannabis. The therapeutic benefits of cannabis are mediated primarily, albeit not exclusively, through compounds known as cannabinoids. Susan is nodding her head in agreement here. Through compounds known as cannabinoids. Cannabinoids are lipophilic and, as such, require a fatty carrier to be absorbed via the oral route of administration. One might think that the high oil content of latkes would enable them to deliver a larger payload of cannabinoids if one uses cannabis-infused oil for frying. But there is a flaw in this logic. You see, cannabis is expensive. And much of the oil used to fry latkes does not ultimately enter the latke and, by extension, your body. It splatters out of the pan. It gets adsorbed onto paper towels used to blot latkes after frying. Most wastefully, the used frying oil typically gets discarded. While it is possible to infuse frying oil with a sufficient quantity of cannabis to deliver an effective dose of cannabinoids under normal latke frying conditions, most cooks skimp on the cannabis in this situation. This leads to a cannabis-infused frying oil that is not sufficiently potent to produce the desired clinical effect from a standard serving of latkes. The unfortunate truth is that because we Jews are a thrifty bunch, most pot latkes won't get you high. In contrast, cannabis-containing fat is incorporated directly into Hamantash dough. This permits the baker to deliver a more potent product with little waste. Case in point, 3 years ago, my aunt made pot latkes for Hanukkah. I ate 3 of them, nothing. Contrast this with last Purim, when I made Hamantash with cannabis-infused butter. Not only could I not distinguish between cursed be Haman and blessed be Mordechai, after just one of those babies, I wasn't even sure what holiday it was. Point Hamantash. After listening to my discourse, you might think that I believe the latke to be superior because I've awarded the latke 2 points and the Hamantash only 1. In fact, I believe the Hamantash to be superior. The superiority of the Hamantash over the latke as a drug delivery mechanism supersedes my first 2 points. You see, Hanukkah means dedication. And to kind of misquote Johnny Cochran, if you can't medicate, then you can't dedicate. This might seem to make no sense, but as I mentioned before, stoner wisdom. In closing, I offer a modified version of the Hanukkah song verse with which I opened. So drink your gin and tonica and eat your marijuana, i.e. in a Hamantash. Have a happy, 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 happy Hanukkah. Thank you.
One more time for Dr. Adam Rothschild. I just have to ask, where were you when I was in high school? You know, I mean, it's like, our next debater, if you come to services frequently here, needs no introduction, for he probably has greeted you on your way in. Mike Gordon is a native Pittsburgher who lived in Squirrel Hill until the age of 5 before moving out to the east suburbs, and he graduated from Churchill High School in 1982. Those of us who work at Alderdice will not hold it against you. And received his Bachelor of Communications degree with a minor in journalism from Penn State in '86. After college, he worked in a variety of roles for the Pittsburgh Pirates from 1987 to 2000 before taking a position with Major League Baseball, where he is still employed. Mike enjoys playing ice hockey. You may have seen the Gordon family's front yard rink on Beechwood Boulevard. Weightlifting, running, reading, and listening to music. He's also a part-time fitness instructor at the JCC. He's been married to Darcy for 21 years, and the couple has 2 daughters, Rebecca, 18, a freshman at Cornell and an Alderdice grad, and Dora, 14, who's a freshman, who's a first-year student. We're trying to get away from the gendered terms here at Pittsburgh Alderdice, and the Gordons have been at Temple Sinai since 1997. Please welcome Mike Gordon.
Before I start, my wife doesn't know I'm going to do this to her, but I need her to move to that front corner seat. She's taping this, and so, yeah. Not on? Hello, hello. Oh, there we go. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you. It is one of the great honors of my life to be included among these esteemed panelists to participate in this spirited debate. And while I offer my most sincere congratulations to each and every one of you, I must say, in the most forthright manner possible, that I've come here to defeat you. And to once and for all, resolve the age-old question of Latke versus Hamantash, a subject of the utmost importance to not just those of you in this room, Not just the Jewish people, not just all the inhabitants of this earth, but dare I say, even to those in a galaxy far, far away. Nice. Now, I know you're probably thinking, here comes a big Star Wars themed speech, right? Well, that would be appropriate given the timing, but let me assure you, it's not going to be that. You might also be thinking, wait a minute, Mike Gordon, he of but a single bachelor's degree, will present a more compelling argument than a renowned scholar, a leading rabbi, a distinguished public servant, and a prominent physician? That's preposterous. Well, preposterous I shall be. Because while each of my colleagues does bring impeccable credentials to this debate, I bring a story that none of them know. A story that's never been told before. And a story that's a complete fabrication. But still, when you learn that in my imagination, one of the preeminent artists in the history of music actually advocated for the Latke, there will no longer be any need for a debate on this subject. You see, in the fall of 1964, the acclaimed American jazz pianist and vocalist, Nat King Cole, decided he wanted to do something just a little bit different for his next album and include a song called Latke, Latkes. Now, you may be aware that Cole had already released several Christmas songs, including his infamous version of Chestnuts Roasting on an Open Fire. Did you know that was coming? But now he was aiming to do something truly unforgettable with his career. I said unforgettable. See what I did there? All right, you got to keep up with me, folks, right? Unforgettable? All right. Anyway, back to the story. Cole takes a demo recording of his Latke song to a meeting with executives at Capitol Records. And he springs upon them this crazy idea to include it on his new album. Needless to say, those Capitol bigwigs, they were just a wee bit skeptical, but this was the legendary Nat King Cole after all, and they figured they had little choice but to humor him and listen to his song. After hearing his magnificent song, the Capitol execs realized they had a problem. You see, after one listen, they knew beyond the shadow of a doubt that Nat King Cole's Latke song was going to be a surefire hit. And not just any hit either. It would be a huge one that would sell millions of records for them. There was just no doubt it was that good. So, what was the problem, you might ask? All right, let me rephrase that. What was the problem, you will ask? Thank you so much. The problem was this hat. It's coming off. Well, seeing as you did ask, and you did, the problem was that Capitol Records had other artists under contract too. And they knew that if the Latke song hit the market, the demand for it would be so overwhelming that they wouldn't be able to sell any records for their other big-name artists like Dean Martin, Dinah Shore, Frank Sinatra, and this new mod group out of Liverpool, England, called the Beatles. Actually, they weren't really all that worried about the Beatles because they figured that ragtag bunch probably wasn't going to sell many records anyway. But they really were worried about their other artists who clearly would suffer once this Latke song reached the ears and the wallets of the public. So, after huddling together privately, the record company folks explained the situation to Cole, and they asked him if he could write a different version of the song. One that would still be popular, just not as popular. Make it a love song, they said, and bring it back. Then we'll put it on the album, and everyone will be happy. And in the end, the Once Upon a Time Latkes song did get a rewrite, and it became the classic Love song. You all know it, right? Well, let's fast forward 55 years to tonight. And you might ask, that's your cue, Mike, whatever happened to the original Latke song? Well, seeing as you did ask, wait till I turn this on. Hello. Hit it, Ellen. L is for the lights of Hanukkah. A is for the aroma that makes you say, ah. T is for those terrific tasting tater tots. And K is for the keys that unlock every flavor that I savor. Latkes are all that I can give to you. You know that you can't eat just one or two. Frying in oil is how I'll make them. The extra ones, I'll let you take them, 'cause latkes are made for me and you. This is why you're here. Come on. L is for those lights that never stop. A is for the applesauce on top. T is for the texture, crispy's best, that's my conjecture. And keys are how you unlock every flavor that I savor. Latkes are what I want to make for you. It doesn't matter if you're a Gentile or Jew. In bubbly oil, that's where I'll lay 'em with love, just like my booby made 'em. 'Cause latkes are made for me and you. Oh, latkes are made for me and you. Yeah, latkes are made for me and you. Ladies and gentlemen, Ellen Keeney on the piano. Thank you.
One more time for Mike Gordon. You ready, Corey? I guess. All right. Corey O'Connor was just reelected for his third term, representing Squirrel Hill residents to the Pittsburgh City Council. He is a proud graduate of Central Catholic and Duquesne University. He was also a state champion golf coach in 2016 and 2018. Recently, he was instrumental in passing the historic common sense gun law here in Pittsburgh. Let's welcome Councilman Corey O'Connor.
Okay, so I just wanted to wear that to see how Donald Trump breathes every day. Sorry. We all know the favorite jelly that he likes in his Hamantashen is clearly peach. So I do have to follow a singer, which is tough, but you brought an O'Connor to tell you which one is better, a latke or a Hamantash. I am a good grown-up Jew in Squirrel Hill, so I will try to do my best. Let me see. My staff gave me this speech today, and I think they got the wrong one. It says here I'm supposed to compare the matzo ball soup to gefilte fish. I think that was for my speech this morning at the yeshiva. So I am going to try to do my best. But when it comes to the latkes and the Hamantashen, it's basically, for me, it's Aiellos versus Minios, Sheets versus Wawa, you know, Mitch McConnell versus insanity, a little bit of Joe Biden versus Webster's Dictionary. You know, that's kind of how I was trying to figure this out. So then I thought, well, how do you make each one? So I believe Hamantashen is a lot harder to make. It's about as hard as Bernie Sanders getting 1 vote in West Virginia. So that's pretty tough. But then when you look at the Latkes, that's actually relatively simple. It's as easy as me explaining why Bill Peduto's beard is gray and his hair is black. It's a real simple answer. He dyes it. Don't tell him I said that. We're never going to get another street paved in Squirrel Hill if you do. But so, I thought about how I could answer this question, and given my background, I'm really torn as to what this answer is going to be. So I'll give you some background family stories. So obviously, O'Connor, my dad, Irish Catholic. My mom, Jewish, her family Orthodox. So I was trying to figure out how to do this, and then I thought of my brother and my bubby. So my brother, if you don't know, is a Jewish Catholic priest. Very confusing. A lot of people at his church don't understand it. But then I thought, the best story I have, and I'm going to be brief, but it was my bubby. My brother went to school, was a lawyer for a year. And he went to my bubby, sat down at her dinner table, and said, "Bubby, I have to tell you, I'm going back to school." My bubby had her first heart attack ever. She said, finally, somebody in this family is going to be a doctor. My bubby wanted a doctor so bad. She's so excited. My brother paused and said, "Well, bubby, I'm sorry. That's not the kind of school I'm going to." He said, "I'm going to the seminary." My bubby had her second heart attack in 5 minutes. And she looked at him and said, "You know what? We love you. We'll support you no matter what. And you know what? The world has too many damn rabbis anyways. A priest would be pretty good." Sorry, I didn't say that. My bubby said that. I'm a politician. I play both sides. So I'm okay. So in my brief story, I figured, my bubby used to make Hamantashen. Probably have to go to that. But I am an elected official, and I have an event at 9:10 tonight. So with no reason or rationale, as most elected officials make their decision, I'm just going to pick the Latke because I'm an O'Connor. I didn't really have a choice, so I have to go with the potato. But I do have to say that this was very entertaining. I like that you guys gave me the largest cap and gown ever. Usually I shop at the Baby Gap. But there's a sale every once in a while. It's good. It's not a bad thing. But I would have to say that thank you for having me tonight. This was fun. Very entertained. I would actually like if Mr. Gordon would get me that CD, maybe next week. But so in conclusion, as I said, no real rhyme or reason. I'm going to go with the Latke. So thank you very much.
One more time for Councilman Corey O'Connor. Our last debater, if you've been at Temple Sinai for a long time, doesn't need any introduction either. It's Rabbi Larry Friedman. He is thrilled to be back here in his home of Pittsburgh, where he and Deborah raised their 2 boys, Ethan and Lev, made a lot of friends, and delighted in the community for 10 years. Rabbi Friedman has served as the associate rabbi at Temple Sinai of Roslyn in New York for 4 years, and then here at Temple Sinai for a decade, before moving on to Newton, Massachusetts, and then on to Newburgh, New York, where he was there for 10 years, 15 years, 11 years. Happy to have you back. And he also taught at Crane Lake Camp for the last 11 years for a week for each summer, teaching spiritual leadership and an honest approach to teaching Israel. And most recently, he's been a chaplain in the New York Air Guard for a while, holding now the rank of lieutenant colonel, where along with the entire chaplain team, he serves 6 Jews and 1,000 of every other religious background. Rabbi Friedman is currently the director of JJEP, and we welcome him to our bima.
Feels good. I wrote something thoughtful. I can't compete with this. I don't know. It's a lot of pressure. I'll do my best. I rise today as a man returning home, or if not home, as one must be 3 generations Pittsburgher before one can be so bold, then at least as one who is made to feel at home by so many good people who care about me and my family, and who have truly made us all feel at home. There are nods of awareness in the crowd, I see, and there are those still unsure as to who this guy is. Let me say that I am the guy who has dedicated my professional life to resisting the dilution and disappearance of the Jewish people, a fight whose outcome is anything but certain. And it is here in the Berg that I look to make my stand, to wave the flag of blue and white with as much gusto as I wave the black and gold. It is here that I choose to take a stand and do my part for the preservation and advancement of the Jewish people in this corner of the world among the 3 rivers. How do I plan to do this? Why, with the Hamantashen, of course. Yiddish for Haman's pocket. In Israel, it is Hebrew Oznei Haman, Haman's ear. Regardless of the allusion to ear or pocket, it stands as a metaphor for how we can survive. The perfect equilateral triangle. 3 equal sides represents Judaism's classic and enduring composition of God, Torah, Israel. There are moments, side 1, there are moments of godliness where when we engage the world of the spiritual, of prayer and meditation, connection to something larger than ourselves, we lean on our liturgy to offer time-worn words of comfort. We lift our souls to the melodies of new songwriters. We see the world and understand that because all of it is God, we, as part of the universe, are godly. Side 2, a moment of Torah, and add richness to our lives with study and thoughtfulness and intellectual fervor. We study the Parashah and find new meaning each week. We mine our ancient texts, and we rejoice with creative novel practices. We, the people of the book, ask questions always and forever. And then we move on to side 3, Israel. This powerful sense of peoplehood. It is the thing that makes us feel in common with the Jews of Australia and the Jews of Ethiopia in equal measure. It is the comfort in being in the great synagogue in Florence and understanding nothing until we hear Shema, and then we understand everything. It is the thing that makes me feel at home when in Israel, when to be sure I am an outsider in all rational sense of the matter, but I feel like I am home. Peoplehood is the thing that makes us take pride in the Jewish Nobel Prize winner and feel shame at the Jewish tax felon. And then we move back to side 1 of the Hamantashen, the side of godliness. Our lives as Jews are a constant happy wandering from side to side to side. A little holiness, a little study, a little culture, and on and on. God, Torah, Israel. These are the boundaries that define the life of the Jew. God, Torah, Israel. This is all a Jew needs, all a Jew is. However you imagine your Jewish life, it is some combination of God, Torah, Israel. The 3 sides of the Hamantashen are the structure of the Jew. Here is the best part, the true secret that no latke can overcome. The Hamantashen is no Hamantashen without the center, the filling, that which gives it verve and life and vibrancy and poignancy. Without the center, it is a fine, if uninteresting, dough. With the filling, it soars and brings joy and meaning and richness and texture to our mouths and our lives. And here is the best part, the true secret. You are the center of the Hamantaschen. There is cherry, there is poppy seed, there is prune, the classic fillings of our ancestors. But wait, Jewish expression evolves. There is also chocolate and peanut butter and marshmallow fluff. There is pineapple and date and Nutella. I have seen pizza-flavored Hamantaschen, boozy-flavored Hamantaschen, savory cheese Hamantaschen. At Sinai, there were 600,000 Jews, every single one similar and every single one unique. And so it is with the Hamantaschen. Each the same, each different. Every Jew is a Hamantaschen, living with structure and at the center, unique. I challenge you, how will you live out your inner Hamantaschen? How will you rejoice and revel with the three-sided heritage of God, Torah, Israel? And how will you give it your own style, your own take, your own flavor? Be the Hamantaschen. Be your own Hamantaschen. Live the life of the ancient and ever modern Jew. Be conservative with the dough. Be liberal with the filling. Respect our heritage. Be creative with your expression. Be the Hamantaschen. And that is why the Hamantaschen is the most superior of all our delicacies. Thank you very much.
And one more time for Rabbi Larry Friedman. And let's give them all a rousing applause. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. You will make the decision about whether it is latkes or Hamantaschen at this time. Thank you so much. And I believe there are some, what's the word you use? Nasharais set up for us. I love that mashup. That's great. Thank you all.